All right, what's up? Welcome, KAS Knight fans. All right, I know it's been a minute since I did a video. But, welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey,
I ain't going nowhere.
KAS Knight in the feed. Cold wrist, hot leg. Cold
Welcome
chain, no code.
to new
New lane
KAS
for
Knight
spread.
music.
I watch the chart twitch while they chase fake shine. I was on the back end, counting up in real time. While it don't like he's tuck, no noise. If it ain't
Take a
built
look at
right,
Bitcoin
I
today.
don't
Looks like
hit
they're
those
trying to make some
boys.
moves on us, right?
Bought low, move slow. Let the patience talk. They want fast fame. I want the whole vault. Tick, 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 tick. Hold that. Let it
Kaspa.
breathe. Let it grow. One move, then snap. In the whole room, no. KAS Knight. All in on a ride. KAS Knight. See it in my eyes.
Solana is being a banger.
Fold, never
I think so. I like it.
KAS Knight. We gon' ride. Talk cheap, blink fast, I don't miss that. I seen Will smile with a bar that paper hands fall when the storm get loud. I was in the deep end, had a butter crowd. Legend got scars, every line earned. Every loss taught me how the fire burns. Now the name ring out like a clean heart strike. One play, one chain, and the whole game like tick, tick. Hold that, let it breathe, let it grow. One move, then snap.
That's what's trying to move, man. Everybody's cycles that are all zoomed in. You gotta remember these traders. This is a daily chart, right? So every one candle, the day here. I'll show you.
Never fall, never hide.
Bump it for a second.
We gon' ride,
Bitcoin.
we gon' ride. No rush, no panic. I was made for this. When the red lines dip, I still stay legit. Hold firm, don't chase. Let the small ones grin. KAS Knight in the dark, and the light come in. KAS Knight. All in on a ride. KAS Knight.
Oh, yeah.
See it in my eyes.
Man.
Never fall, never hide. KAS Knight. We gon' ride, we gon' ride.
Yeah, man, that's a little banger, huh? That song right there. I like that right there. All right, so let's kill that right there. All right, welcome, y'all. So, dude, look at this, right? Even on the daily, this looks pretty dang bullish to me, right? It looks more bullish than it has, right? It broke this structure right here. This has been giving it hell for a minute, right? As well as these moving averages, of course, right? The 50 exponential moving averages, the yellowish gold line represented right here, right? The dotted bluish tealish line, right? That blue line right there wrapped around this purple, darker purple line right there. That's the 9, the purple, and the blue is the 2 exponential moving averages. Those are good for short-term swing trades and things like that. And they work fairly well on the daily too. Sometimes they're respected. As you can see, price action is actually about riding that up right now. Once price goes from bearish to bullish, man, or bullish to bearish, right? It starts to magnetize. I believe it's like a mean reversion to this line right here a lot of times, right? I'm glad to be making videos again. But yeah, this is something to be a little bit excited about, guys. Like, right? This is more than it was like when it was stuck in this channel up and down right here for freaking how long, right? I'll tell you how long. Let's measure it, right? We measure everything. We check everything here, right? You don't got to take my word for nothing, right? We'll measure. If I can measure it and show you, I will, right? So I was in here for what? 17 days, right? That's how long it take to get from right here to right here, right? Before it broke out, right? And then 18, 19, 20, 21. So 3 weeks from the time it got into this flag to the time it broke out. And this is the breakout, right? As long as this candle right here doesn't can turn into it goes to go up, makes another wick like this one right here, and then it turns into a red candle and capitulates right back under this gold line right here. In which case that will probably create a tweezer tops, right? And you could say this could be a fake out, right? This breakout could end up being a fake breakout, right? But let's not jinx it, right? Because right now we got volume, right? Fake outs usually don't have volume like that, right? Especially, and it's not just a little bit of volume, like because the last three before that were exceeding the moving average as well, and then even the one before that was like matching the moving average. The ones before that, nah, not so much. There wasn't too much going on with this doji and that candle right there, right? But then when it printed this doji, right, it was like, this doji had a lot more participants, right? They couldn't decide what they wanted to do. Well, the Bulls won, right? Next two candles, right? Had volume, right? A lot of participants in the move, and then we broke this structure. It had been in this downward structure right here, right? That flag, right? We broke above the flag, right? So then it went sideways, right? Created another little flag right here, right? With volume, right? And then another breakout, right? On the breakout, more volume, right? That's what you want to see. So even if this candle does nothing, even if that stays exactly the way it is right now, even if it turns red and it's the same size and closes above this gold line right here, that's cool. It's consolidating after the breakout, right? With less volume, right? Way less volume currently, right? So I don't see anything to be mad about right now if you're a bull, right? Not on the daily chart, right? It gets even better when you go swooping in where all the degenerates are trading right now, right? 4 hours, this is like, look at this thing, right? Now you're screaming, right? If you're on the 4 hour chart and you're a bull, you're like, look, break up. Ooh, we broke above all the moving averages, right? We broke above here. We broke above this golden one. That's the 50, right? On the 4 hour chart, right? So it means each one of these candles takes 4 hours to open and close, right? To form, right? So, right? So 6 of these would be a day, right? I can show you too. I can prove you. This is kind of interesting. I like showing this stuff to people, right? Let's do a couple days, right? So 12 candles would be 2 days, right? 18 candles would be 3 days, right? So let's, for the funsies, let's do 4 days, right? Let's do 4 days, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do five, right? The breakout candle, right? And the following 4 days afterwards, the follow through, the flag, and then the other breakout candle, and then this current candle right now, which looks like to be consolidating or continuation. We'll see, right? Right now, it's just sitting there like a little teeny green candle. No, don't mind me. I don't got no volume. I'm not a threat, right? And and I'm not threatened by it, right? I'm not threatened by that shit, and not at all, right? Not after this and this breaking through this and holding above it, right? It was a big candle too for a minute. Now I'm not a big fan of upper wicks, right? If I'm trying to, make the bull case, right? But still, it's promising, man, right? You got to get excited about any kind of anything, dude, after this freaking brutal ass bear market we've been going through, right? You're like any bull signals you see, right? So yeah, yeah. So let's do that. So let's check out, but let me show you the example I was telling you about. So I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna grab this tool, right? Where's it at? It's a little square thing, right? Let's see. Is this one? There we go. Rectangle. We're gonna put a rectangle around the stuff I was talking about, the candles I was talking about, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles. It's gonna catch this doji too, I think, right? So it's gonna be whatever in this box, right? So whatever's in this box is gonna catch a little bit past this candle right here too. So it'll catch a little bit of future price action too, which is cool, right? On the lower time frames, it'll have room to fill it, right? But basically, I'm gonna show you what these 5 days, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll call it 6 days, right? What these 6 days look like on a lower chart because it's the same thing, right? Price still went from here to here, no matter what time frame you're on, right? It still traveled the same distance, and it's still at the same spot right now as it is right now on the lower time frames, right? Money wise, right? Bitcoin is at $64,970 right now, no matter what time frame you look at it from. That means the price is going to be right here, no matter what time frame you look at it from. It just looks a little bit different because the candles take longer to form. Therefore, there's going to be more candles in this box when I swoop down to the 4 hour. How many more? Well, there are 6 candles right here. 6 times 4 is 24. There should be like 24 4 hour candles, something like that in there. Let's see if it makes me a liar. All right. Remember where I say, see, I always got this little spot right here. Where the hell did my little pointer go? Do I have to get another one? Oh, here we go. These things get bigger and smaller when you swoop in and out of time frames. Too, so you gotta mess with them more. But uh, man, it's fun to be making videos again, right? I love teaching this type of stuff too, because this was like aha moments to me. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, oh, right. That's when I started understanding time frames and stuff. Like, oh, so it's like zooming in. It's really like zooming in and out. It's like looking at somebody's house from down the street as opposed to in the front yard. Like, oh, okay, now I see. There's the window. There's the two front facing rooms, you know, kind of like same thing, right? Anyway, so this box right here, right? This whole box right here, ding, 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 this box, right? Is the same box that I just showed you that we drew right there on the daily, right? It was around 5 candles. Now it's around 24, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It added, all right, so it added whatever, man. It added some because, oh, because the doji, right? I don't know, whatever, man. But anyway, what happened, it still went from the same, it still traveled the same amount of distance, right? It went from here to here, motherfuckers. Right? That's what we're measuring, right? The stuff inside the box. This stuff is not inside the box, right? So anyway, that's pretty cool, right? So the guys, so the people trading these lower time frames, right? Because the all the rules still apply, right? You're like, well, it's under the moving averages on the higher time frames, right? You go to the weekly, you're like, motherfucker, this shit's bearish, right? It's under all the moving averages, right? Here's the 200 EMA right here. Here's the 200 SMA. It's the last one. The last line in the sand is the only one we're holding, right? We're sitting on top of it right now. There's the bottom of the candle. There's the 200 moving average. Under that, there's nothing. There's freaking the abyss. There's Bitcoin's death spiral. No, I'm just kidding, dude. But that's what some people think, dude. They panic when you start losing all the moving averages, right? But but what happens? Right now, I go to the 4 hour, right? It's the same thing. I'm still looking at Bitcoin. I'm still looking at it in real time, but I'm looking at it in lower time frames. I'm watching it and I'm zoomed in. I'm watching it form like I'm closer up on it. I can see the more details, right? So what's happened in the last 5 days, right? Instead of instead of saying this is what happened in the last 5 days, right? One, two, three, four, five. These five candles. It printed two green candles, a red candle, and two more green candles, right? You're saying in that 5 days, right? Bitcoin was in this downtrend right here. It's the same downtrend. It just looks more dramatic because it's stretched out, right? But it still was in that same downtrend, right? It just created a whole bunch more candles in between, right? And if you look, it respected all these moving averages and stuff, right? They acted as support and resistance as it went up and down above them and below them and stuff, right? Have volume bars, everything. Everything's a it's like a microcosm within the macrocosm, dude. Everything is zoomed in and zoomed out. There's always a smaller version of the same picture and a bigger version. This stuff really fascinates me, man. I don't know. Maybe not everybody's as fascinated by it, but it's me, but I am, you know. So but yeah, I always thought that was cool because you know that's what these guys are trading on, right? These people are putting in these swing trades, saying like, "Look, man, where's my pointer? I keep losing my pointer." They're saying, "Look, dude, I bet that because Bitcoin just broke above these moving averages, look, bang, this candle happened and then it flagged out and then boom, follow through, right? Follow through with volume above the moving averages, right? So if you're me, when it starts flagging out again and it proves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles above this 200 moving average, right? It doesn't stay below it like these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these rejections out from underneath it. Right now, it's holding it as support. What was once support was once resistance is now support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles in a row. So that's when I'm like, all right, I'm confident enough to put in a bet. And then even when if you're even a G when this big candle right here was a red candle at one point, you got a savage entry right around this blue dotted line. I say that's the perfect entry for swing trades, right? If you have the balls when you're saying right here, oh, there it goes, it's leaving. That's it. It held for these candles, and this is going to be the one that loses it. No, it ain't. That's the scaredy one before it turns into a big ass green candle, right? And then another green candle, and then flags out again for another leg up. And then now all of a sudden you're looking at low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher high, higher low, higher high. Boom. Now you got a trend, right? This is an uptrend breaking a downtrend on Bitcoin on the 4 hour chart, right? So every time this thing makes a move and then goes back down, everybody's waiting for it to touch this blue teal dotted line for the perfect entry for the next move up, right? And you're thinking, well, what does that matter, right? This little move right here from here to here, hell yeah, that matters, right? If you're using leverage and shit, right? So if I take this measuring tool right here and I measure it from this little blue teal line right here, right, where I would have put my entry in, and I say, as soon as this mother sucker starts turning into a wick, I'm gone, right? Boom, 1.47%. But if I got 50x leverage, right, that's 75% profit, right? So that's if I had $100 bet with 50x leverage and I cashed out and I opened up here and closed right here, right? I made $75, right? That's pretty good, right? And if I did it right here and right here and cashed out right here and then did it again right here when it touched the line again right here and cashed out when it made a wick again right here, right? And then when it came down and touched this line again, I cashed out right here, right? That could be your string trading strategy, right? Not financial advice, right? Of course, I would never give nobody financial advice. I'm just learning. So I'm just a guy on YouTube telling motherfuckers what I see on the chart, right? But I'm just saying, if I was to swoop down to the 4 hour chart and was decide, hey, let's take a shot at the dice. Let's throw a freaking Benjamin out there on Blowfin. Put 50x leverage and freaking bet this thing up, right? It just held this freaking 200 moving average. Hell, it's been under it for all of this crap, however many candles that is. I feel like that's a change in structure, right? Because of the volume with confluence, right? Probably click in and maybe see some other indicators for confluence, right? Like, oh yeah, look, the RSI is above 50 now. It's making higher lows on the RSI too, right? The fast line's above the slow line, right? You could even say that it was doing that, right? You could say the RSI was making higher lows since way over here, right? Since July 31st, right? Right? And then July 31st, right? July 31st, so it was making lower lows, right? So you're saying you could have predicted this actually a long time ago if you were looking at the RSI and you're like, "Hey, well, isn't that divergence? Bullish divergence?" Not financial advice. I'm just saying that could have been indicative of a reversal coming, and then you have been right about all this, right? Then you could have put in a bet right here and just cash it right here. You know, what I mean, f all this trying to ride this freaking little dotted line, right? But whatever, right? There's all kind of different strategies to trading and shit, right? I'm just a freaking guppy who watched a few YouTube videos, though, right? I kind of am though, right? This is fun to me, right? I'm like, hey, I actually can't believe I'm making videos now. Now I get to teach people. How awesome is that? I'm a mentor anyway, so that's what I do by day. I write a whole bunch of letters to people in prison. I tell them, hey, dude, do something better with your life. I'll show you how, right? I know I did it, right? I used to be a bad guy. Now I'm a good guy. And then I tried to teach people. And, if I die tomorrow, I think there's more people. If you guys say, hey, who's Brian? Right? Who's KAS Knight? Oh, that's a motherfucker that likes to help people. Donate toys to kids at Christmas time and go to church and spoil his wife and just give food and socks and water bottles to homeless people. That's what I do, right? And I like to freaking look at charts and build cryptocurrencies and tell people what the heck is going on. And I feel like they can't see what's going on for themselves. Whoa, whoa, guys, don't forget this big sign, this big old stop sign. Stop. Look, right? I don't want my people running into walls, right? If I can stop them, right? That's why I want to be a teacher, right? I feel like there's a whole bunch of walls people are running into left and right. And I'll show you one of them, what I'm talking about. How about that? That's the perfect time to hit you with an example, right? This right here, this chart right here is a graphic I had ChatGPT help me make, right? Let me make sure we're still filming here too, by the way. All right, testing, testing. I think we're good to go. Does it still say, yep, 19 minutes in? All right, we got to wrap this up soon though, but so I wanted to give you guys a little bit because I was like, man, do people realize how money, like, why is crypto, what's so great about crypto? What problems is it solving? Money's fine, right? Money works fine, right? Nah, no, it don't, right? Because the government is irresponsible with money. That's why, right? And we have to trust them, and then they're not really that trustworthy, right? And I'll explain why, right? Okay. the government, right, spends more money than it takes in, right? And that creates a problem. It creates a problem for who? For us, right? The taxpayers, right? It doesn't create a problem for them. They get paid by us, right? Right? The governors and the senators and everybody, president for everybody that works for the U.S. government gets paid by taxpayers, right? Right? Tax revenue every year, $4 trillion, right? Government spending every year, $6 trillion. You're like, wait, what? Yeah, that's real. That's a real number. I mean, basically, right? It might be like, 4.127 trillion dollars, but we're generalizing a little bit. But basically, yeah, we take in tax revenue, $4 trillion, right? Government spending, $6 trillion. Now we also get a little bit of money from like fining people and shit like that, right? Federal seizures. I don't know, whatever, man. There's some stuff that people are gonna be like, they also got this money, but they don't got enough to cover the extra $2 trillion, right? So how do they get that, right? How's that right? I'm not a mathematician, but the math ain't math in there, right? How do you freaking borrow more money than you make every year, right? And they do because they do it every year, right? It's not like they just did it one year and they're like, oh man, we overspent that year, guys. Make sure we do better next year, right? No, this is perpetuated, right? All right, so the government borrows money. That's what they do, right? How do they borrow money, right? That may do it. It's like, hey, when they go to the bank, hey, let me borrow some money. I got to pay off all this money that I used for Medicaid and Medicare and shit. Hell no, the bank is gonna be like, what? How are you gonna pay us back? Well, I'm gonna give you this IOU, right? Government borrows money by selling Treasury bonds, right? The Treasury sells bills, notes, and bonds to investors, right? Like banks, right? Investors buy the treasury debt. Right? Why would they do that, right? Because it's for sure pay, right? It's like your man, I always want to give prison analogies, right? Okay, I can't do that, right? Never why would you do it? Because they're definitely going to pay for sure. Their track record for paying back their debt is 100%, right? They've never defaulted, right? That's their freaking that's their selling point. That's their commercial, right? Loan us your money, buy Uncle Sam's treasury bonds, and we'll pay you back with interest, right? So who's buying them, right? Who believes their story, right? The banks do, some foreign governments, individual investors, right? That have extra money that want to freaking, they got more money than they can spend, so they put the stuff they're not spending into an investment vehicle, right? So when they come back and get it a year later, it's more money. Right? That's the point of investing, right? Well, I don't want, why would somebody give you more money? Because there's a risk involved there, right? Well, the least risky is, in theory, the government. The U.S. government is the least risky because of the track record that I mentioned, right? Now, some people say that track record is being abused, right? They're saying they just do whatever the hell they want now, right? They just print money, they borrow money at will, they do whatever the hell they want, right? And eventually, this little Ponzi scheme they're running, where they spend more money than they got, is gonna go under. And the government's like, yeah, well, ain't nothing wrong with it right now. Still works today, right? So right now, people are still buying bonds, right? Right? Because why? Because it's not that risky. They know they're going to get paid, right? So we already established that, right? Investors get paid interest, right? The government pays interest, coupon payments on the debt, right? That's the plan, right? That's the deal, right? Inflation eats away returns, though, right? Because when they print money, right? Because they got to print money, right? So they print the money to pay you back for the bonds, right? Right? They create money. They don't actually got to pay everybody in paper money by print out a freaking bunch of. They do that some of it, right? But they just print it on paper, right? All right, now there's this many dollars in circulation, and they transfer it to your bank account or whatever the hell, right? They keep track of how many dollars are in circulation in theory, though, right? And they say they do that to the rate of about 6%, right? They're saying that's what we're doing, right, to keep up with all this shenanigans, right, and to make up for this extra $2 trillion a year, right? Does the math? I don't know. Probably not. Probably maybe. I don't know. If it depends which way you look at it from, right? But I know this: the debt keeps growing because of that, right? Because they're not settling it all, right? That's just compounding, right? That's why every year, right? Like right now, it's $34 trillion right now. That's what we owe. That's what we have not paid yet, right? And it's been going up, right? Look, exponentially, right? New debt is issued to pay for old debt and ongoing deficits. The cycle never stops. It's perpetuated, right? It's like a freaking hamster on a freaking wheel going crazy. You could never stop, right? It's freaking anyway. So the rollover, when the debt matures, the government issues new debt to pay it off, right? So what happens when everybody says, "Well, I don't know," right? Oh, and they give you so well, how much money is it? Are you willing to take the risk, right? So it's like say what's the rate? 4 to 5%, right? The yield right now 4.5%, right? So if inflation's at 6%, there's a 1.5% difference, right? So you're losing, and so just having your money, right? You're still losing a little bit of money, right? Buying the government debt, right? But people are like, I'll lose a 1%, right? I just don't want to lose 6%. So they'll buy this stuff, right? So they're not making nothing. They're just not losing as much when they buy this government stuff, right? When they put their money in government treasuries instead of just a savings account, right? I think that's how it works, right? Feel free to kill me in the comments, right? I love this stuff, right? All right. Now, so what's the government's idea, right? You think a normal person would think, right? Stop spending so much money, right? Budget it out. But how do you do that, right? What are you going to cut? You're going to cut Medicaid, right? Right? You can't do that. And there's more baby boomers than right. I don't know. There's like a gap between baby boomers right now. How many I don't know, something about the population boom at that point, right? It can't be sustainable by the income created by this new generation. Ain't keeping up with how many old people there are from the last generation. I don't know, man. It depends who you listen to on that stuff, right? I got some more learning to do in that area. But so what's the government do? Hell no, they're not gonna stop spending because then they'll have to go on there publicly as they're trying to get elected to office and say, I'm cutting Medicaid or I'm cutting, you know, uh whatever, dude, right? It's going to be unpopular, right? They're not going to get voted in if they do that shit, right? So instead they print money, right? Right? And then what happens, they print money, it makes your money worth less, right? You got to take you're all of a sudden your $500 that used to buy you a week's worth of groceries buy you 5 days worth of groceries, and you're pissed off. You got to put stuff on credit cards, your debt goes up, and it spirals, right? Right. So they don't fix it, right? They patch it over, right? They're like, I'm not going to be the politician that does that. We'll kick the can down the street, put some band-aids on it, right? What's their band-aid, right? Their band-aid is the Genius Act, right? I know they sold us this like, hey, we love crypto, right? We're gonna back crypto. We're gonna pass this Genius Act, and that makes crypto legal and regulated, and that way, it gets rid of all the freaking scammers, and it makes honest swing trading freaking guys like us be able to do it legally or whatever, right? You know what I mean? But so they're like, but they got our back, right? Vote crypto, right? Or whatever the hell, right? We got the Genius Act. We're back in your play. But really, right? The Genius Act requires full reserves for stable coins, right? So they're like, what the hell? Who gives a shit about that? Fuck KAS Knight. What the fuck do I should have give a shit about stable coins, right? Well, because this is really why they passed the Genius Act, right? And right, people want digital dollar. You got to have a stable coin, right? When you make your Brazilian dollars on your shit coin, right? When you put $100 in your shit coin and it does 1,000x, now your $100 worth $100,000. You're gonna put that shit in. You want that $100,000. You don't want that in the shit coin no more. You want it in a U.S. dollar that's not gonna change past the dollar. It's gonna stay $1 or 99 cents or $1 right? Or whatever the hell. Generally it's going to stay right around $1. So as soon as you move that shit coin, $100,000 in shitcoin into $100,000 in USDT or USDC, US dollar coin, US dollar tether, right? Then that stays at $100,000, right? And then until you go pay your taxes and stuff, right? You won. Woohoo! Winner chicken dinner. You need stable coins. We love stable coins. That's how we realize our gains, right? So yes, we need stable coins, right? So they're gonna regulate this shit, right? Because Tether's not even an American, right? They're like offshore or some shit, dude. They're like, how are they printing U.S. dollars, right? Right. Well, at first it was the Wild West, and they just kind of said, "Look, man, we got assets to back it up. You just trust us that this stable coin's worth $1, right?" And now in comes the government, like, whoa, 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 whoa. All right, Wild West guys, you and your rug pulls and all you crazy ass guys, we're gonna put some rules on this shit, right? So, and they say the law requires that the stablecoin issuers to back one for one with very safe assets like cash and U.S. Treasuries, right? That means for every U.S. stablecoin, right? When Tether prints a billion Tether stablecoins, so you can swap it for your freaking shit coins and your Ethereum and your Bitcoin and your Kaspa and all these things, right? When you go in and out, realizing profits and losses too, right? Right. Ah, I give up, man. My $1,000 only worth $325 now, right? So now I got $325 in what? In freaking stable coins, right? Until you move it to your bank account again. This is funny to me, right? And then so anyway, uh but it's true, dude, right? This is feel free to fact check every bit of this, by the way. You know, what I mean, I'm a little bit more obnoxious and like, with some of my descriptions and the language that I use is inflammatory sometimes. I guess some people might say it if you're like some kind of a economist or something. I probably piss off some of the economists or whatever, but F them. They don't care what I think. Anyway, so but I'm telling you, I speak this way so you can understand it, bro. That's it, right? So, and I think it's fascinating. And I don't think everybody knows what the heck's going on. I think all this stuff's going on behind the radar, and they're like, Genius Act. All right, that means they're, you know what I mean? It sounds smart. I don't know. Most people don't give a crap what the hell a Genius Act is, dude. What does that do for me? What does that mean for my freaking paycheck? Nothing. Okay, who gives a crap? Next freaking vote. Right? You know what I mean? We care because we're crypto people, right? Or what the hell does this stuff mean? What's the fine print mean? What does that mean for when I cash out my crypto? How much do I gotta give the government? You know what I mean? All that crap, right? So anyway, so we care about stable coins, right? So the new law says if Tether and USDC, they have to have $1 for every freaking stable coin they got, period, right? So what does that mean? So that means, frick, these new laws mean, so okay, Tether's got 1 billion stable coins. Would you have 1 billion US dollars? Because they have to be backed by very safe assets like cash, right? Ha, paper cash, like, right? Or treasuries, right? These things that we talked about, government freaking IOUs, right? That's just as good as a dollar as far as the government's concerned. That's what they're saying right here in the Genius Act, right? They're saying, don't worry, if you don't have $1 billion bills, right? Just come buy $1 billion worth of government bonds, right? And we'll pay you back with interest like usual, yada yada, right? But the interest probably ain't gonna outpace inflation. You'll just lose less money, right? But you'll happily lose that money because you run a stable coin company that's making a bazillion dollars a year, helping people trade shit coins, right? Ah, we're helping you, help me, help you, right? So issuers, right? The stable coin issues, they buy the treasuries, right? Right? To back the stable coins in the circulation, right? And then more stablecoin demand, right? The more treasury demand. It's a flywheel right here. As stable coins grow from billions to trillions as they tokenize real world assets and DeFi, decentralized finance becomes a thing more than centralized finance and banks starts using blockchain rails for transactions and things like that, right? You need more stable coins, right? If you need more stable coins, stablecoin companies got to create more stable coins. If they create more stable coins, they got to buy more government debt, right? If they buy more government debt, then that stabilizes their whole little Ponzi scheme. They can keep their own little flywheel going a little bit longer without having to freaking be responsible with their spending, right? Ha! Exposed. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's true, right? Right. Just most people don't say it like that, right? But that's the truth, right? Right? Debt creates the problem, right? Stable coins help prolong the system that created the problem, right? And inflation makes us pay for it, right? Ta to the da. So that's KAS Knight's little fun little chart to show you guys. And then we'll look at Kaspa too, and then I gotta get the hell out of here, right? But that was cool, right? But look, Bitcoin's breaking out, dude. Look on the 4 hour, right? It's breaking out on the daily, dude. On the daily, it doesn't look bad either, right? On the daily, it looks okay, right? As long as we don't go back below this gold line, we look pretty good on the daily, right? Volume looks good, right? We don't want a big red candle with volume this big, right? And then we're in trouble, right? And then this was all a fake out, right? Now, Caspa, right? Because F all the rest of the stuff. There's some pretty other interesting stuff going on. I'll do a quick like a fast one, right? Right. So on the daily, we're not seeing a whole lot, right? Right. We're we're in a downtrend and we're rejecting out from under the 9 exponential moving average. We're under all of them, right? That's the littlest one that I put on the chart, right? And I put a lot of them on the chart, right? As you can see, got a whole rainbow of these motherfuckers, right? So it doesn't look that great, right? It is printing a green candle, but barely, and it's rejecting out from underneath, right? But if you zoom in on the 4 hour, right? Looks a little bit better, but it's still under the major moving average. It's only on top of the 9 and the 21, right? Hey, but some people that's good enough, right? That just means the big move maybe just hasn't happened on Caspa yet, right? Not financial advice, but it did just put this big giant bottom wick with volume. Wait, no, that didn't have no volume. Okay, these are going sideways, right? I don't know. It rejected with volume, and then it printed a hammer candle. I think that's called a dragonfly doji. I don't know, man. I didn't memorize all the different candle patterns and things like that. I just know I watch out for wicks, and wicks represent this used to be a big candle, and the bears turn it into a smaller candle right before it closed, right? And that means it stayed underneath these moving averages, significant ones, right? The 50 exponential and simple moving averages, right? There's a lot of wicks going on. Look at this big wick on the top, and then now this big wick on the bottom. Man, right? That makes me want to even look even deeper into this. Let's look deeper into this, right? Let's do a little box trick again, right? Let's see what's going on with all these freaking wicks, right? I'm just curious. What in the heck is going on? Why is this doji and all these wicks going on right here? That's a whole lot of indecision, right? Well, wait, what, the 30 minutes? Let's go to the 30-minute chart. Well, it's been in an uptrend. It's been in a very volatile uptrend, right? Good luck swing trading that. But if you got conviction and you just held it, right? As soon as you seen it break above like one of these moving averages, like this one right here, the 100 moving average, you could have been like, man, it broke above it, it held above it, starting to print a green candle. Enter, right? And then that could have been entry, and then you could have cashed out here or here, right? And that would have been a pretty good move, even with a little bit of leverage, right? So, dude, you could be making money on these lower time frames, dude. Trading Kaspa, trading Bitcoin, trading fucking Solana. Look, Solana's kicking ass, dude, right? Solana and Tau are the ones I trade the most and render, right? Look, look at Tau. Oh, this thing is like rocket fuel, man. If Bitcoin just freaking sneezes, this thing just blasts off, dude. Forget about it. I keep telling everybody under $200. If you ain't buying Tau, I don't know what the heck you're thinking, right? You must not believe in AI crypto because this is the winner in AI cryptos right now, right? There might be some better ones up and coming or whatever, right? I got a whole bunch of them I got my eyes on, but right now, who's the best AI crypto right now? It's Tao, and nobody can say otherwise, dude. Anybody that says otherwise is full of crap, dude. You know what I mean? This one actually has an ecosystem with it's the best one. DYOR, right? And it's also super fun to trade, right? If you know what the hell you're doing, right? Look, when this thing broke out, right? Not financial advice. I can't believe I gotta keep saying that crap, dude. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm some dude making YouTube videos, but whatever, dude. Uh, so look, if you were trading this, right, you'd be like, oh, look at this candle, boom, broke above there with volume, right? Consolidation, no volume, good, right? Stayed above the moving averages, all of them, yay. Another one, stayed above even more moving apps. Now you're above all. Now you're above the 200 SMA too. Yes. And then you print a big old green candle. Yes. Right. And then you get a pullback with volume, all this with volume under the moving average. Right. And then you're like, ugh. And then look, but you're holding the golden line. You're holding the 50 exponential. Right. So at any point in this time, you could be like, you know what, dude, this is just a pullback. There's no volume. Right. You grab your nuts and you put in a freaking trade right here, and then you could have got this trade right here as soon as it breaks out, right? Bam, right? As soon as it creates this big ass wick and then goes back up again, get the hell out, right? It's making tweezer tops if you're swing trading, right? You don't gotta get bazillion freaking percent moves, right? If you're swing trading on these lower time frames, right? You get in and get the heck out. That's the whole point, right? Otherwise, you trade on the higher time frames, and you just chill and you come back and check in a couple weeks, all right? Or you set an alert or take profit, automatic take profit, or whatever, right? Depends what your style is, right? These dudes on these lower time frames, right? They're moving in and out, right? When I'm trading on these lower time frames, I'm looking for like a 3% move, a 1.5% move. It depends how much leverage I'm using, right? I don't need a big ass move if I'm using leverage. I want that trade over. As soon as I've been winning, dude, I'm not waiting for it to turn to a loser. Because for that. But winners turn to losers, losers turn to winners, and back and forth again 6 times in crypto. If you just let your shit sit there willy nilly, well, you can't do that with leverage. You get liquidated at some point, right? But anyway, so that's Tau. What's Render doing? Render looks like that was just enough to wreck the Bears. That's funny. All right, that's it, man. KAS Knight video over, man. What'd you guys think, dude? Right? Hey, dude, I am building a new project, right? So when I launched KAS Knight and I went through the Moonbound thing, and I was like, dang, I ended up losing my money because Moonbound, right? It went down or whatever, dude. God bless them. Like I said, I'm not bashing Moonbound, right? They're Kaspa developers, dude. I don't even know them, dude. I'm only out a couple $100. But that said, dude, if I would have got past the bonding curve, meaning if I'd had $25,000, if enough people would have bought enough KAS Knight tokens before Moonbound went down, we'd have graduated from Moonbound to Zealous Swap Dex, which did not go under, which is still fully functional, and I believe still the best Dex on Kaspa. And we would have a listing right there, right? And I wouldn't have to relaunch, right? Well, I have plenty of friends and family that would have bought $25,000 worth of KAS Knight. I think, and with me pushing it, right? What was the problem? The problem was all the shit they got to do to buy it, right? It's not like they just grab their credit card, like, here you go, here's $50, give me some KAS Knight tokens, right? No, they gotta buy some Kaspa, and then they gotta fucking wait 3 days to move it, and then they gotta set up a cold wallet. Gotta remember the seed phrase, right? Write that shit down so they don't mess that up, right? And then they gotta connect their wallet. They gotta or send the Kaspa they bought on the exchange they just learned how to use. They gotta send it from there to their new wallet they just set up that they barely know how to use, right? And then they gotta connect that wallet to a Dex and a freaking launch pad, and then they got to swap it for the iCaspa, or right, whatever the native stuff is, the version of the Caspa or Ethereum or whatever you're using. You know what I mean? And then you freaking swap that for KAS Knight or whatever. It's an Ethereum token or whatever shitcoin that you build on Ethereum or Solana or whatever, right? And that's the process you got to go through to buy someone's token, right? Can't just right. So that's what you know what. I want to fix that problem, right? I want my grandma to be able to just be like, I want to buy my grandson's freaking crypto project. And I don't know crap about crypto. How do I freaking do that? Well, I'll freaking do it for you. I want an app that does that, right? And I'm doing it, right? So stay tuned. So anyway, how cool is that, right? How cool would that be, right? DM me, dude, if you know anything to do with like how you can help me make um eventual partnerships with like some Kaspa native dexes and wallets and stuff, dude. I'm gonna need some partnerships, dude, for the utility part, dude. You don't gotta give me permission for nothing, right? Not just public permissions. But I'm gonna do some cool stuff, man. What the heck, dude? What was I looking for? I was looking for the music, right? KAS Knight. Here we go. Have you heard this one? Nah, I don't want to do that one. That's the one I wrote, but I'm not singing it. I'm gonna bring some different versions of this song up. Check this out.
Stand back, homies, get on back, it's a rap now. KAS Knight rapping, I'ma show you where we at now. Dag rabbit flowing with the track that be blowing like the gap. Why you strap, fam?
Where should
Crap
we do
happens
it?
where we at. So here's the flow.
Cron?
Here we go. Yo, Warren Rabbit with the glasses. Follow the white trash, little rabbit here to educate the masses. Only spit the facts, man, and block Jag. Simply where the future's
Where
at,
do we
fam.
launch KAS
So
Knight?
get the stacking KAS, fam. Every single day in every way that we can think to make it happen. Block Dag and Kaspa. What the kids be yelling from the back, bruh? Holy moly, holy what? Holy effing crap, man. Kaspa's. KAS Knight can really effing rap, man. Never ever saw it coming, nah, bro. Never knew this crazy shit could happen. Little Warren Rabbit in a mask. Vigilante black leather pants. Cold in here, we going with the flow. Wait, whoa, what the F is that, man? Man, is that the effing Batman symbol? Nah, man, that ain't Batman.
It's a
That's a
microcaps.
rabbit with the mask. It's the KAS Knight signal. Whoa, man. And who's that with him? Guardians of the Dag, man. Holy effing crap, man. The hell with effing Batman.
Oh, look at that.
Woman, KAS
2.
Knight coming with the smash, fam. Dag Knight putting Kaspa on the
Good
crypto
luck, Sweet
map,
Dreams.
man.
That, holy
Yeah, we
crap,
did it
dude.
in a flash, man. Block dagging on the fast track, and we ain't never looking back.
That's
It's a
awesome
wrap.
there, all right. KAS Knight out, y'all. God bless you guys, man. And stay tuned. I'll be doing a whole lot more ecosystem stuff.